Last week, we were at CES 2023 to try out the latest VR and AR tech, and I was excited to see how much there was to try. I saw the near future of our industry with the first consumer-ready haptic gloves, new gloves that can replace our motion controllers entirely, an anti-motion sickness device, an optic solution that has the potential to be game-changing, electrical stimulator suit that actually made me feel pain, a bunch of new VR headsets, and much more. Hi, I'm Cass, and there was so much XR stuff we could try that we could not fit everything in this video, so today I wanted to highlight some of my favorite things. Some of the things I talk about deserve their own video, so that is gonna come later. Subscribe for that, as that supports us a lot as well, and as a thank you, here's a picture of my kitty. Let's get started with the first of my highlights, which is NeuroSync's C Infinity. We will not be able to cover CES like this without them, as they sponsored our trip, so a huge thanks to them for supporting the channel today. The C Infinity is an anti-motion sickness device that can gradually give you your VR legs. They have neuroscientists on their team that have discovered a way to solve the simulator sickness problem. Motion sickness is a huge problem in our industry, as it's the only thing that could instantly scare people off from VR forever. I got better over the years, but I can still get sick, so I was the perfect test subject. Next to this, the C Infinity is also a huge controller you can use to play any flat game. They've been working closely with Luke Ross and his VR mods, so I tried multiple games during my time there, and one was Cyberpunk in VR. How it works is that if you want to move forward and backward, you pull or push the arms, and then to turn, you use your own body. One of the things that makes me feel sick is smooth turning, but I didn't have any problems here. Of course, I only tried it briefly each day, and the team told me it might take some more time to really gain my VR legs, so I'm excited to review this unit later. I think these guys are doing God's work, so keep an eye out for them, links are below. Next on the list is the new haptics Tact glove. You might know them from their Haptic Fest. They're now coming with their first consumer-ready wireless haptic gloves. A light and stretchy fabric with 10 LRA motors, 3 different sizes, and using Bluetooth, it connects to your VR headset and lets you feel what you're touching in VR with vibration. They had a new demo this time, which was impressive. Basically, they've modified Meta's first-hand experience, which was already a great demo on its own. And it worked so well with the gloves. My individual fingers were tracked better, and the extra vibrations added another layer of immersion. Since you can use it with their other products, it really starts to feel like a Ready Player One is coming to life. You can get one for $299 with a release date in February, and pre-orders begin this month. I also got to try the Diver X VR gloves. You might remember this company from this, which unfortunately was cancelled, but they did that professionally. Now they're working on the contact glove, and it's unique because it not only has haptic feedback and hand tracking, but also has button input, just like conventional VR controllers. So you can use them to replace motion controllers entirely and play any Steam VR game. They had an early version at CES, and I could play The Lab, a free Steam VR game, and I thought it already works great. It takes some time to get used to, but I can really see the potential here. Many gloves only allow you to play hand-tracked games, but being able to use them to play regular VR games is just very interesting. Okay, now don't confuse these haptic gloves with force feedback gloves like the ones by haptX. These gloves can track fingers and vibrate too, but next to that, it also pulls back on your fingers a bit to make you feel resistance. By applying just the right amount of force, it allows you to feel the size and shapes of virtual objects, and even the difference between textures, and that's precisely what I could feel during my demo. I've tried force feedback gloves in the past, and this one has always been on my bucket list, but unfortunately I have to say, all these force feedback gloves are right now not for consumers. They're all currently focused on the enterprise and are really expensive, but I'm happy I finally got to try it. I mean, these kinds of technologies are just mind-blowing, and I hope we'll see them become a standard item in our VR home arsenal someday. I also tried 2 new haptic vests, like this one by Skinetic. This vest is equipped with 20 voice coil motors all over the torso and can provide a wide variety of tactile sensations. Initially, I wasn't excited because there's just so many of these kind of vests now, but I was surprised because this one actually felt stronger than other haptic vests I've tried, even with the fewer motors on this vest. Playing Half-Life Alyx was a really fun time and I honestly did not want to stop playing. It will start shipping in May this year, but this vest isn't cheap at $750 and I am kinda doubting if it's going to be worth the price. The following vest I tried though is absolutely crazy as it actually hurt a bit. The Owo skin is an electrically stimulated vest and uses an algorithm that modifies 9 different wave parameters for you to feel infinite sensations. The interesting thing is that it feels different from vests that just give vibrational feedback. Here I could actually feel the sensation of something going through my body, like getting stabbed. I guess that's the electricity going everywhere. You can also set the intensity yourself, and at some point I could feel pain. Of course, you don't have to set it that high, and when it's at your favorite level, it feels really immersive. I was really surprised, and I think this is my favorite haptic vest now. Also, the price isn't bad. You can get one for under $500 and you can pre-order one right now for even lower than that. You might remember the Tesla suit, which is also electrically stimulated, but that one is enterprise focused and it only costs $13,000. If you're new to VR, there is one thing you have to know. Us VR enthusiasts are obsessed with making our experiences as real as possible, hence why almost all these products are about making it more immersive. We'll continue that in a bit, but I also wanted to show you a new accessory by Alpica. I went by their booth and there was this alien head there that you could use as a headset stand and a charging station. It's still in prototype, but the goal is to eventually have 3 different USB-C outputs that can maybe even charge up to 120 watts. If you lift the top 2, you can also put the controllers there and anything else you want. This stand should fit most VR headsets and I thought it looked really cool, so I thought I'd share it. Next on the list is OVR's wearable scent technology. Inside is a single universal scentware cartridge that produces thousands of unique digital aromas. You can mix and match yourself to create new scents too and then share it with your friends and family or followers. In my demo, they showed me a couple of scenes in VR. I smelled a burning campfire, marshmallows, lavender, and new scents I didn't recognize. I was kinda amazed at how accurate it smelled, like I recognized it immediately. You might also remember the Feel Real, which never came to life because it was seen as a vaping product and they could not get FDA approved. OVR scent accessory isn't vaping, but they have told me that they aren't approved yet. But it is one to watch if you're interested in these things, but keep in mind that with new technology like these, developer adoption might be the biggest challenge. Swiftdoll, Panasonic's subsidiary, has also been very active. They've already shown us they could suppress our voices, give us full body tracking without needing base stations, and this steampunk-like VR headset. I tried that, more about that later. This time, they announced a new VR controller called Flip VR. It's interesting because the controls can be flipped to the back of the hand with just a simple twist of the wrist, allowing you to have your hands free to do other things like drinking. Now, before we move on to the last part, VR headsets, we also found something else that has the potential to be game-changing. And Reality's optic solution has up to 120 degrees field of view and active shutter to switch between AR and VR modes. Current AR glasses have a small FOV, so the edges of the screen are very visible. The field of view here was the widest I've ever seen in AR glasses, and I could not find the edges as quickly here. Plus, it's such a small form factor, I mean it just fits in glasses. So the ability to cut out ambient light and then change into VR mode means you might get some really insane mixed reality headsets in the future. So I'm really excited about this. So yes, I finally got to try the Swiftdoll Megane X. I fell in love with the steampunk-like design when I first heard about it in 2020, and since then I'm happy to see it's actually releasing this year, although at a steep price of $1,700 US. Ouch. What they say is unique about this headset is that it's ultra lightweight and has a 5.2K micro OLED display. Almost no other headset uses this display yet, and it has great looking visuals, but I was disappointed at a few things. First, the comfort, as I had some trouble keeping it on my head. It was also blurry and I could not get it sharp easily. Also, the headset seems too expensive and just a little too late. Many headsets are now getting more comfortable, smaller, and are cheaper. There's even one coming up under NDA, which I think will knock this one out of the park, so it's hard to recommend. Also tried the Pimax Crystal again, and it's better than I expected initially, given past Pimax disappointments. It has an impressive crispy display at 3542 ppd, and it didn't have any weird visual things like they had before in other headsets. The specs are a bit crazy too, as it supports inside-out tracking, Steam VR tracking, and even has a standalone mode. I tried it twice. The last time was during VR days, where I tried the Steam VR tracking, and now I could try the inside-out tracking, which works, but I must say it's not great yet, as I could easily find some dead spots. Pimax says that these are the things they are currently fixing by software. Unfortunately, there was no standalone demo yet. However, they did let me try something upcoming that is very promising, but I'm not allowed to talk about that yet. More about that hopefully soon. For now, I'm glad the headset works and doesn't seem to be an overpromise. But the Pimax Portal is another story. This hybrid 4K handheld device that you can also use as a VR headset is real and it works for console gaming, but VR needs a lot of work. They showed me a demo where I could play Tilt Brush in 6DoF, but while moving around, I had a very discomforting warping issue. Pimax says they can also fix this by software, but this is the second time I tried it with different problems, so I don't know. I'm still skeptical about this product, as I worry this may never be a great VR experience and it may scare off newcomers, but we have to wait and see. Now, a lot has happened ever since we visited the Lynx R1 office about a year ago. It wasn't without some issues back then, as it was a prototype. Last week was the first time I could try the more finalized headset, and it seems they've solved most of the issues I had before. I remember a few things like having trouble finding the sweet spot, and also the AR display wasn't calibrated yet, but this wasn't the case anymore. And it just now made me realize how far ahead they are with their depth correct full color pass-through, and I cannot wait to compare this with other VR headsets. The Lynx R1 just finally shipped this year. At the show, I also had the chance to try out the PSVR 2, and basically it was amazing, but it wasn't perfect. I made a separate dedicated video on this, so I recommend you to watch that. I'll link it below. My last highlight was trying out the HTC Vive XR Elite, HTC's newest standalone headset, the one that brings them back to consumers. Unique about this headset is its built-in diopter adjustment, full color pass-through with depth sensor, and Wi-Fi 6E low latency Steam VR streaming. You can also convert the headset to a glasses-like form factor and stream content wirelessly with a compatible Android phone. If you want to hear all the specs, you can find them in my previous video. So I went into my demo with not too many high expectations, but I was actually surprised at how well everything worked together. Tracking was actually great, and I tried standalone Hubris and it looked beautiful. Plus, they had some novel stuff, like I could use one hand with hand tracking and one controller at the same time. And then the pass-through was one of the best I've seen so far. I've always been a fan of HTC Vive's hardware and I want them to succeed, but I am worried there isn't enough to play on their standalone store to justify the cost. Hopefully, they will prove me wrong. I'm making a dedicated video with my full thoughts on this demo very soon, so please subscribe for that and like this video while you're at it. But that's it for now. I didn't even get to talk about some other things I've tried during the show, as this video is already getting way too long, so I would love to know if there's anything else you want to hear about, and I might make more videos. Also, let me know what you think about these highlights in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to our champions, VR on. 再见。